So good morning everyone, welcome to UK Minis. Our first ever guest on our interview series. Doesn't really need any introduction, but obviously if you are very, very young or been living under a rock your whole life, our very first is going to be...
Watch this.
Paddy Hopkirk.
The point of today is, as you well know, I own UK Minis, which effectively is a massive, it's the biggest online social media page, classic mini based stuff. And, you know, obviously this is a new series for me and for my followers. So what I've done is I've put on a post earlier on in the week, effectively saying, ask Paddy Hopkirk questions. If you ever wanted to ask Paddy Hopkirk a question, you know, what would it be? So yeah, so I posted up a post with a very fine picture of you and EJB, well, your replica of EJB, and the response has been quite good. So we've had like 150 questions. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go for every single one with you, because so all I thought we'd do is basically try and learn a little bit more about you prior to your obviously famous Monte Carlo win. So, you know, who was Paddy before rally and minis, and then obviously we'll touch upon obviously the Monte Carlo rally win and everything that must have felt like, and so on and so forth. And then obviously the Paddy since that brings you to the man you are today. And then I'll finish off with a couple of questions from the followers, if that's okay.
Can I ask you how many followers? Is that how you judge your success?
Yeah, so, well, I think it's more about engagement, but my following is across the two pages is about 85,000 across Instagram. So Instagram's just below, literally just below 50,000. So it's 49,500 and something as we speak. And then Facebook's about 22,500, I think. And then obviously the YouTube, which we've just started, literally about 2 weeks ago. There's about 1,000 followers on there already. So, you know, nothing special, but, you know, that's very, you know, very early on in its stage. But more so, it's about the engagement. So, you know, if I post something as an example, there's sort of 4 ways that you can engage with that post. So the post about you as an example has gone on. People can like it, which is like a like, if that makes sense. It has no, you know, it's just a positive. They then have a comment, which is obviously...
you don't know, on Tuesday, 100 people descended on my house and they made a film about this new car of mine. And I had the old car there, 33 JB.
Fantastic.
And we drove them around and they did all-day interviews with me, and I showed them the cup from Monte Carlo and the picture of the Beatles, and they were in my office and Lou and everything. Very
Amazing.
good. And that was done at my suggestion.
Yeah.
But I went to Monte Carlo a couple of months ago and did the shots for the pre-thing of they've done a new mini with my name on it.
Yeah,
and,
which is fantastic.
I did this video for all over the world. I suggested, rather than just show the new car, which they did in Monte Carlo with me, I said, let's get my old car down, and we did that. So it's good link, and I did wonderful pictures here around my house with a drone and everything. Very professional crowd. Now, BMW Mini have made that. They paid for it. And I don't know what they're going to do with it. But I've asked for some of the stuff out of it to use in my presentation. I go around the country for the Institute of Advanced Motorists, giving talks and showing the Mini. It's all got a Mini theme. And I mean, I try to get a few laughs as well. And I show commercials and stuff that are banned, not dirty, but stuff that encourages dangerous driving, of the advertising standards turned down. So I've got I did Eton College recently, and they loved it. And well, I think they loved it. They didn't throw anything at me. Yeah.
It was really interesting what you were just saying about the going around and doing the talks and stuff. So did you were saying about showing the stuff that wasn't
Well, I showed them. I mean, I showed it to the senior people at BMW the other day that were here.
Yeah.
And they said, "My God, we've never seen that video." There's 2 videos that have been made with my input, and they're being banned here by the advertising standards because they said they would encourage dangerous driving. The advertising standards are quite tough on that, as you know. If you make a video that's shows dodgy driving, they don't like it anyway. I'll shut up. Carry on.
Shall we sort of go back in time to the Paddy before Monte Carlo, and you can give us a bit of a of information on about how you came to end up racing cars and then ultimately obviously getting involved with BMC.
Okay, so I was born in 1933 in Belfast, and the war came, and there was an old clergyman lived next door to me, and he had a thing called a Harding. If you've got my book, you'll see there's a picture in it. And it's a 2-seater wheelchair with a motorcycle engine in the back and a tiller steering. And he died, and he left it to me in 1939.
Okay.
It was the beginning of the war. And I lived next door to an estate in Northern Ireland outside Belfast. And I was very keen on mechanical sets and things. And anyway, we got it going, and I used to drive it around this estate. So I was actually driving a 4-wheel vehicle when I was 9 or 10, and the motorcycle engine in the back, and the brakes only worked on the rear wheels. So every time I put the brakes on, I did a handbrake spin. So I learned I was known as Handbrake Hopkirk.
Okay, that's where the name comes from.
And that was my telegraphic address. You won't remember the days, but you used to have a telegraphic address with one word, and it was Handbrake Belfast. Anyway.
Fantastic.
Excuse me. And then I went to boarding school and didn't like that very much. By the Jesuits in Southern Ireland, a very famous school.
Okay,
But then at 15, I got an engine on the back of my bicycle, and then I got a motorbike, because I think you can get a motorcycle license when you're 15 or 16.
Okay.
But I got a motorbike, and my dad made me put a sidecar on it. He was scared I would fall off, and that was the best machine I ever drove. A motorbike and sidecar on a slippery road, there's nothing to touch it, because if you accelerate, you turn left. If you brake, you turn right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I mean, it's and I learned how to drive that, and that sort of gave me, I suppose, a talent for balance and driving. And I'm very dyslexic. I just became an Uber driver last year.
Okay.
But when I did the exams in London, they said to me, "Are you dyslexic?" And I said, "Well, I suppose I am." And they said, "Well, if you get a certificate," they said, "we will give you an extra half an hour on the exam." And I was having difficulty with the exams on the map reading and all that.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I went to my doctor, and he said, "Oh, no, you go to a charity." So I went to the charity in Slough, and you pay your 49 quid of charity, and a very bright lady and pretty lady lawyer interviewed me from America. And in 3 hours, and I was very tired at the end of it. I remember she said, "You're 60% dyslexia." I said, "I have a certificate to say I'm thick." And I took it to the Uber people, and they gave me an extra half an hour, and I passed the exams just.
Yeah. Well, congrats.
I failed on PSV, because to be a PSV driver, you need 1 3/4 eyes. And I've only got 1 1/4. I've got macular degeneration.
Okay.
And my sight is not good enough to be a taxi driver, thank God. So there you are.
Oh, well, I wouldn't mind being driven around by you in a taxi, to be honest. I think
Well,
you could
no,
just
the
do
reason,
laps.
Sammy, the reason I joined it because they have 500,000 Uber drivers in the UK, and
Yeah.
I'm a patron for the ambassador for the Institute of Advanced Motorists, and we
Yeah.
have 90,000 members. And
Okay.
I was hoping that if I became an Uber driver, I could talk to Uber and get them
Yeah.
to join us.
Yeah,
because
fantastic.
it would have been good image for them against the black taxis and all that.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
But I didn't pass, so there you are.
Well,
And
maybe that's something that we can look at doing. You know, I've got a lot of racing drivers that are followers of me.Maybe we could try and get one of those into Uber and get in that way for you to have the conversation. You know,
well, the thing is, I couldn't get talking to the guys in San Francisco, and then I was in Vegas at the show, the SEMA show, and I went on the Uber stand, and I met a very senior guy, and he was from San Francisco, and he thought it was a great idea, but all fell over.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but you know, thinking outside the box, you can, you know, that's a genius idea. In fairness to you, you know, absolute, you know, getting in and they have to talk to you then, don't they? So it's you know, good thinking.
Yeah, well, I thought that if I was owned Uber, I would have thought of you for your image. If you all became advanced drivers, that would be a very good image.
Yeah, fantastic. So that brings you, so obviously, so the motorbike and sidecar, you know, at 15, 16, obviously, you know, taught you.
Then I got an Austin 7 Open Chummy.
Okay.
And that wasn't much good in driving, and I joined the motor club, and then I got my father bought me a Volkswagen Beetle, and I used to drive that in driving tests. So when I say driving tests, I mean auto tests.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I'm a great auto test enthusiast, and I led the team for Northern Ireland. We used to win it every year on television.
Yeah.
And I think Northern Ireland has won it 40 times out of 45 or something.
Yeah.
The Ken Wharton Memorial Trophy was on television every, you know, Saturdays, and the whole world saw it. And auto tests is the best and simplest way to find out if you've got talent, because all the racing drivers say you've got to go-karting, and that's a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
Because go-karting, you need a go-kart, and you need overalls and stuff. With auto tests, you can take Mum's Mars 1000 out, pour yourself a gin and tonic, have it sitting in the car, and do an auto test. And as long as you make sure the handbrake works. I mean, and this Ken Wharton thing, I've been trying to get them to come to Silverstone and publicize it and show the racing drivers that this is the way to find talent.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I've got there's one of my followers, Charlie. He does auto test, and he does a bit with Russ Swift, you know, the stunt driver, the mini stunt driver. And he does quite a lot with him, and he does a lot of stunt driving for adverts and all that type of thing. And he actually last week invited me to one very soon that he's got coming. So I'm going to go along and have a watch, because it's not something I've ever gone and experienced. So I'm looking forward to it. And he's got a Mini that's got fatter wheels on the back, fatter wheels on the front than on the back. And then obviously, you know, on this steering wheel, he's got like an extra knobble.
I know. Yeah.
Well,
there's a guy that does a 360 in the Mini and goes into a parking place the size of the Mini.
Oh yeah.
I've got that video.
Yeah.
And that I show that. That's very good. But the thing is, the guys that do auto tests have special. They have Minis with tops cut off them and all that. But I actually love what I love to. The piece I show is just an ordinary family saloon.
Yeah.
So in other words, there's nothing special about the car. It's the driver. It's all about
the ability.
But they do have that thing on the steering wheel, so you can get the lock on quickly. You know.
Yeah. Fantastic. So Autograss. So when was you? So obviously from Autograss, how old have you been then? What, 17, something like that? When did you actually get your official driving license? And you know,
driving license, I think then was 16. I think in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And I had motorbike and sidecar, and then I got it when I think it was 16, and then I was a student in Trinity Dublin, and I spent more time doing auto tests at the weekend. We used to have competitions. They go up the mountains outside Dublin, the Wicklow Mountains, close off the road, put some white chalk down lines and do an auto test on the crossroads, you know, the dirt road crossroads.
Yeah.
And if anybody was coming along, you just asked them to wait a minute.
Yeah, fantastic. Couldn't
get
away with that now.
No.
So obviously, when was your, you know, when did you, obviously, I imagine you knew at that age that you had a bit of a talent for it, but when was it sort of the first time that somebody said, you know, Paddy, do you want to come and drive for us? Was it your own car that you entered into your first rally with?
I'll tell you exactly. Well, I won a thing called the Houston Trophy in Ireland, and that was going around different trials in Cork and County Clare and different places, and I won a lot of the events, mainly auto tests. And I won, and I had a Ford Anglia as well. I used to use. And
my dad had a Ford Anglia, a rally Ford Anglia before I was born. But that was I've seen photos of it. It was he used to say that you could bounce it off trees and it would keep going. That's what he used to say about it.
How many birthdays have you had?
It was literally my birthday on Monday, so I'm 36 now.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Paddy.
10 years younger than my son you are. Anyway, one of them. Okay, well, no, so then I won the thing called the Houston Trophy, and then there was a guy in Dublin who mentioned my name. He was a Standard Triumph assembler for TRs and Standard 10s. And he kept mentioning in England Ken Richardson, who was running the competition as department of Standard Triumph.
Yeah.
There was a young Irish driver who was very good. So Ken invited me over to do the RAC rally because he had a cancellation.
Okay.
I think it was Johnny Clays, the band leader. Johnny Clays, that's right. He got ill or something, and he was to drive this car for publicity reasons, and he fell out at the last minute. And anyway, Ken asked me over to do the RAC rally, and I was coming to England. My goodness, you know.
Yeah.
To Lancashire and Blackpool, and the RAC rally in those days. Stop me if I'm banging on, by the way, too much. Am I banging on?
Not at all. I want to. The good thing for me personally, this is just the best way to spend time. And secondly, for my followers, you know, to learn all of the little bits that a lot of people won't know. So you can talk as much as you like, Paddy.
Okay. Well, look. Anyway, I came over, and it was in Blackpool, and in those days, the RAC rally had some driving tests, and the first event was the driving test on the promenade at Blackpool, and the English didn't know what the handbrake was for.
Yeah.
So it was parking, and I had a standard 8 or 10, I think it was, and first was a driving test with throwing the front end and everything.
Yeah.
And I took about 10 seconds off everybody else.
Yeah.
And if you did fastest in your class, you scored a 0. So I scored a 0. And then I did something else and scored a 0. And Ken Richardson was sitting in a bar in Blackpool. And the BBC said, young unknown Irish rally driver leading the RAC rally.
Yeah.
And he dropped his gin and tonic and fell off the stool almost and said, my God, I've found a good one here.
Yeah.
And then I made a Horlicks of it later on. But that was how I got in, and I drove for Standard Triumph for quite a while.
So you were driving? It was a Triumph that you were driving in the first RAC that you entered into?
No, it was a Standard 8 or 10. I can't remember. And then I drove Standard 10, and I drove that in the Swedish rally.
Wow.
But then I switched to TRs.
Okay.
TR2s. And then we did the Alpine Rally and won a coupe on that. And I had great. So with Willie Kay from the BBC, who's still alive, and he was my co-driver, a wonderful co-driver.
Wow.
I was lucky. I had good, experienced English people telling me how to behave and what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So when was your first experience with a co-driver, and who was the first co-driver? Obviously Willie, so by the sounds of it.
Oh, well, in Ireland, I did trials, Cork 20. I had a wonderful guy from Dublin, John Garvey, and then I had another guy called Jack Scott before I came over to England, and then I started to bring them over with me when I was getting my work strides.
And what year would that have been, and how old would you have been? So that would have been what, in the 50s, I'm assuming?
Yeah, 55. I got my first works drive, I think, 1955.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So then how does, the infamous Mini come into your life? When did that happen for the first time?
Well, then I got sacked by Standard Charm because I was trying to get a silver coupe, a gold coupe diesel, and I was driving up the Stelvio Pass in the TR, and I got a flat in the back, and I carried on trying to not lose time, and I blew the engine up. And Ken sacked me. Ken Richardson, team manager. Quite rightly so, I suppose. Anyway, I then went with Les Leston as co-driver in the Monte Carlo Rally because I wanted to just keep in with the team. And I was walking across the floor of the Hermitage Hotel in Monte Carlo because Les and I did it in a Rally 1.5, and Les wasn't a rally driver; he was quite a good racing driver, but he'd gone off the road or something. Anyway, I was walking across the foyer of the hotel, and Basil Cardew of the Express was there talking to Norman Garrett, who was the team manager for the Roots Group, and they were doing very well. And he said, "There's a young rally driver over there that's just been sacked, and he's good." And Norman Garrett called me over and put his gin and tonic down and said, "Would you be interested in driving an East African safari?" Because Mike Hawthorne was going to drive one of our cars for our publicity thing, and he's just been killed in that accident on the Guildford bypass.
Okay, yeah, God, yeah.
Would you take the car? So I said, fair enough. So I did the East African safari in a Hellman Husky. It's like a bloody van. Anyway, that was the start. But I went on to win a lot of things with Rapiers, and I won the Alpine Rally, and I won the Circuit of Ireland. And the Rapier was a very good car, but very well. The team were wonderful. They were like BMC were. They were the best team. Mechanics, and Norman Garrett was a very good manager, so I was very lucky. Yeah, I drove for the Roots Group and had great success up to 1961, I think. So and then I was on the Acropolis Rally, and the Roots Group cars all blew up. We had an engine oil feed problem. Okay. And Pat Moss had just finished the Acropolis Rally in a big Healy, and in Greece. And I remember she'd go, "I'd like to try that." So she let me try the car, and I was saying, "My God, this is a real world beater." So I wrote to Stuart Turner and asked if I could join the BMC team before I got sacked. Anyway, he took me on, and I drove the Healy a bit, but the Healy was a wonderful car, but very difficult to drive and very unforgiving. And then the Mini came, and that suited me down to the ground.
So when was your first encounter with the Works Rally Mini? What year did you get your hands on it for the first time?
Well, I had been racing for John Cooper at Silverstone and Open Park and all these, and having reasonable success with racing minis. Okay. But then the Cooper S came along. John Cooper got the ordinary Mini and turned it into Cooper S, and I drove that, I remember, up, but Stuart Turner let me drive it up near Open Park after a race, and I said, "Oh, I love this. I like the front wheel drive." Because I wasn't a risky driver. I mean, there were much better drivers in the team than me, like Timo Mäkinen. He was the best driver I ever knew, and Ron Alton was probably even better than me too. But
Yeah.
I didn't break cars, and I finished events, and I didn't like to have accidents.
Yeah.
So I was quite lucky.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot more. I think you have to be in the right place at the right time, obviously, to win these things. But you have to be there, and that's as you've just alluded to. A life, a journey of whatever, 30, nearly 20 years, I suppose, from driving your first ever.
Yeah, but Samuel, we had the best team in the world. I mean, the BMC mechanics, and I was Stuart Turner's team manager. I mean, a bit like the Roots Group. I mean, I was so lucky because I had the best opportunity, best prepared cars, and we worked our nuts off. I mean, my co-drivers were marvelous, and we worked our nuts off. We got the notes right, and we were very professional. And we spent hours practicing, days practicing.
Yeah. So obviously, so when would that have been when you got your hands on the Cooper for the first time? 61, 60, something like that? 61, 62, I guess?
Yeah. It's in
And
my
then,
book.
well,
I haven't got the book in front of me, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's something that I've not got, actually, your book. So that's the first thing I'll be doing when I get off here. We'll be getting that ordered.
I've got, I mean, you can get it on Amazon, by a second-hand copy. It's out of print. I've got one or two left, and I mean, I'm hanging on to them before I die, in case the nurse offers me something exchange for a book. No, I mean, if you desperate, you can get one.
Yeah, I will find one for definite. So obviously that then brings us to the famous 1964 Monte Carlo rally. So how did it end up that Henry Liddon became your co-driver, and had that happened? Had you worked with him before the rally?
Yes. Shirt put me with him because he was terribly English gentleman, Henry. And I think Shirt was started keeping me in tow, which he did.
Yeah.
And he was very good, very, very good man, good driver too. And the Monte, we'd done quite well previous years, even in our rip year, I think it was third or something in the Monte. And then I chose Minsk to start because Stuart Turner hedged his bets. He started cars from different countries because sometimes he didn't get through, the road got blocked with snow or something. Yeah. So he hedged his bet, and he said, "Who wants to go to Minsk, Russia?" And I put my hand up, and bang, and there I was. And so we went there. But I mean, I can go on about the Monte. The Monte, we were very lucky, and we had done a lot of work and practice. And I mean, we had a perfect event. We didn't go off the road. We went as fast as we could, and the big Fords were much quicker. But with the snow banks and the narrow roads, the roads became narrower. Therefore, the Mini was better almost. And we just had a perfect run. And of course, the thing that the young people don't understand today is there was no communications. You didn't know anybody how. I mean, all the press from the Monte Carlo club were so clever because Monte Carlo had a mystique about it. Princess Grace, Prince Rainier, the man who broke the bank in Monte Carlo. And they started from all over the world. They started, from all over Europe. They started in Glasgow, Minsk, and Athens, and Lisbon, and Monte Carlo, and Paris, etc. And the idea of that was to get the journalists to go to Monte Carlo, because you as a journalist, you're sitting in your arse in January in cold England, and somebody said, "Would you like to go and do a report in Monte Carlo?" You'd be there before you could say Jack Robinson. And so all the press were sitting drinking gin and tonics in Monte Carlo with no news. So the first car that arrived, they said, "There's a car arrived," and all you had to do was blow your nose, and you were on the front page. And the world, it was like climbing Mount Everest. It wasn't motorsport.
Yeah.
It was a challenge. it was the glamour of the whole thing. And I mean, I got a telegram from the Beatles, and I've got a signed picture from the Beatles. You're one of us now, Paddy. And I got a telegram from the Prime Minister of England and from Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And the world knew. And then we went on Sunday night at the Palladium. I mean, that was very clever PR, because Sunday night at the Palladium with Bruce Forsyth was a variety show.
Yeah.
It was like the Queen's show thing, all different acts. And there was a car had never been on it before.
Yeah.
And we were, you know, after some comedian, what do you call that? Funny comedians just died. Doesn't matter. The guy who wore the frisbee, Tommy Cooper.
Tommy Cooper, yeah.
and Tommy Cooper told that joke to Timo. I remember Timo was there, and Tommy was drinking in the afternoon. He was a serious boozer.
Yeah.
And he said, I knew a rally driver once, he said, and they had this terrible accident. And he woke up in hospital. And the doctor said to him, how do you feel? And he said, I can't feel my legs. And the doctor said, I know that. He said, how do you know that, doctor? And he said, I've just cut your arms off. Sorry. Tommy Cooper show go. Anyway. Anyway, so we then went on, and my best year actually was 1967, the year I got married to Jenny, and I'm still married to her after 53 years.
Amazing. Congratulations. That is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I'm very lucky, and I've got 3 lovely children, and I've got 6 grandchildren, and they're all together, thank God. Yeah, 67 was my best year, because the Monte Carlo Rally was new, but I actually won the Acropolis twice. I actually won in 67, and then I won the Alpine with the Mini. The Alpine rallies, you know,
that's unbelievable.
And that was very good, and that was dedication again. This meeting has been upgraded by the host, though. Have you done something?
Yeah, it's just clicked on. It just clicked on my screen. I'm not sure what it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, so obviously, you know, what I think probably some of my followers would like to know what was it like actually driving in the Monte Carlo Rally? You know, because is it how many stages is it, and you know, over what sort? Is it 4 days? It's over.
Well, yeah, it's like that. Well, there was a film, BBC made a very good film, BBC Northern Ireland, with Jason Barlow, and we did that about 2004, half-an-hour film, which is wonderful, and explains it all very well. Well, the thing was, you drove from these different places, and we started in Minsk. It was -39 or something, and you didn't know if the mechanics, if you got a noise in the car. It was the anticipation that was different in those days.
Yeah.
Because you hear a noise in the car and you say, oh, Jesus, I hope that's not something serious.
Yeah.
Are the mechanics going to be there? Because the notes say they're going to be by the post office on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
But you didn't even know if they'd got there or not, because they might have been held up by customs or police.
Yeah.
It was anxiety. And in fact, they are talking about making a movie, a cinema movie of the whole thing. And It's been written, and I've seen it. And they found that fascinating, the anxiety.
Yeah, because
no communications, no telephones.
Yeah, well, it's like we touched on earlier, isn't it, with the social media thing? We live in such a society now where everything's instant. Whereas you were literally driving for hours and hours and hours, not knowing if your team were going to be there when you got there. And I guess the same for them, right?
Yeah, and when you got to Rance and you were having a sandwich, I mean, it was great. You hear the boys from Sarajevo didn't get through, the road was blocked, or it was a great news item by word of mouth. And of course, the times of the stages, when we got down to Grenoble, I think the stages started, and there were 3 or 4 stages over up and down mountains. and they were timed from the start and the finish. And then those guys drove to Monte Carlo the next day.
Okay.
And sat down with their contometers and started to subtract.
And started to log them. Okay,
so
yeah.
you didn't know. I mean, it was Bernard Caillet called me at 4 o'clock in the morning, who had a sneak preview. And he said, I think you won the rally, but I still had to do 5 laps of the Monaco Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah.
But the most exciting thing for me was to meet Princess Grace.
Wow,
because
yeah.
Princess Grace was Grace Kelly, and she's
Just
Irish background, and she was beautiful. And she just made that film of Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
And then she had married your man and Monica, and it was very glamorous.
I can imagine, yeah. Well, I can't imagine. You know, it's just it must have been. It must have. I don't know. I suppose the feelings are, you know, even now, because you weren't young, were you? You'd had a life before the Monte Carlo Rally win, and I think that's the thing that's interesting to me is that actually, because what would you have been, about 32,
31,
33?
I think. Yeah,
31.
I was
Yeah.
born in 33, so
Yeah, so 31. Yeah.
I was 31.
Yeah, so
yes, I had. I mean, I'd been a professional rally driver for a long time. It didn't come easy.
And I think that's what's really interesting about, you know, obviously your relationship that everyone you know attributes to you in the classic mini world is, and even in the BMW mini world is, oh, Paddy Hopkirk, the Monte Carlo 1964 Monte Carlo rally winner. But they forget that actually you were a really successful rally driver before that. And then obviously after that, you were, you know, I know your life probably changed significantly, you know, after that win because of the Beatles and then Saturday Night at the Palladium and all the rest of it. And I know that people sometimes refer to you, or the Beatles refer to you as the fifth Beatle, didn't they? Which is a really nice thing to have had.
Yes, you're right. No, you put it like that. I'm sounding big-headed now, but I had it. I mean, I was very professional. I mean, my best year was way after that. I mean, the toughest rally to win was the Acropolis. I mean, the Acropolis wasn't suitable for mini, really. And we won it twice. I mean, we won it 66, and then Ford got us disqualified or got us penalized. I talked with her, they took a photograph of us, and the car had moved like 2 inches inside the meter board, the 100-meter board, and they took a picture, and they got us penalized. And they went back the next year and won it again, and it was really, it was went back very well.
A lot of that went on, didn't it, back then? Because obviously 65, obviously, you know, well, you'll see in the background, if you can still see my camera, obviously I've got a set of prints that a friend of mine makes.
I can see your camera perfectly.
Yeah, so these that's obviously you. That's a model of your car.
All right, can you pull that over a bit closer to the camera?
Yeah, I'll bring it. So it's a proper scale model.
Yeah, I see. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And then obviously it says, you know, who was driving, obviously the co-driver, and then obviously who it was driving for. So, and a friend of mine.
We must mention Stuart Turner.
Yeah.
I mean, Stuart was the best manager in the business, and we had the best mechanics. And Stuart worked out the right tires for the right stages, and he had crews going out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
So he had crews, other rally crews going ahead, making notes of where the ice was. Our notes when we got. I mean, I needed a duplicator at the end of the stage, and they came back with marking red and then he had a duplicator and turned the handle. And then those notes were rushed by motorbike round to the start of the stage. So when we got to the start of the stages, we had our own notes marked with where the ice was.
Okay, wow.
And not on the Acropolis, but I mean, it was that dedication. They had the right tires in the right place. And those mechanics, you know, I still see them. And I'd lie down and die for them. They are the most wonderful people.
Well, I think that's what that's one of when we get to it, before we get to it, but a lot of the people who on their questions is actually about your team and who was involved in your team at at BMC and well, the works, I suppose, and then also, are you still in touch with them? So that really leads quite nicely into that. So we won't need to ask that question at the end, but you obviously are. I imagine some of the relationships that you formed with these people are, they're like family, I would imagine. Over,
Well, I have lunch every year with the ones that are still alive, and
yeah.
I have a slide photograph of my presentation of that, and very good. And also Bill Price and Stuart Turner are still alive, and I mean, I was very lucky. It was like being in the Spice Girls, they all sing in the same key. And it was fantastic from that point of view. Yes, I mean, I was no great driver, and actually, I'm not really interested in motorsport that much. I mean, I was president of the BRDC for 2 years, and I used to sit in on the board meetings, and I've been a member of the BRDC since '64. I think they made me a member, but I actually it's funny because I think a lot of the Formula One people and stuff, they think that everybody is watching motor racing, and I'd much rather watch tennis, really. But they think motor racing, and I actually, when I was president, I got the Institute of Advanced Motors, which I'm ambassador for, and I was 90,000 members, I told you, and that saves lives on the road by teaching people to drive better. And Patrick, my son, and I have just passed the most advanced test, passed. Believe it or not, but it's all about using your mirrors. I mean, the best drivers on the road are London bus drivers. They are fantastic.
Yeah.
And I mean, so what was I about to say there? I lost my thread now. My brain's gone.
You were saying that you're obviously not, not to quote you, but you're not in.
Sorry, your motor. And I mean, I actually got the IAA. All the rising stars. Silverstone, about 20 of them, they'd never heard of the IAM. So I got the IAM to come there, and they took them on the road, and they all passed their advanced test. And we did a bit on BBC television about it. And I thought that was very good PR for Silverstone and motorsport, that they aren't just tossing around, wasting champagne, and breaking cars up and driving around in circles. And rich kids, they are actually responsible. And I mean, I think the best shot of Lewis Hamilton, who I'm very fond of, Lewis, I don't know him, I've met him a couple of times, but I think it's terrific. And the best PR for him is his dog. And I'm trying to get dogs. I went to Watkins Glen last year, and you're allowed to bring your dogs in America to a motor race, as long as they're on a lead. And I said that over here, and they're all going, "Oh, you must be mad, they might run on the track." And I said, "No, they won't run on the track." And much nicer people will come to motor racing if you allow them to bring their dogs. Anyway, I think that shot of Lewis with his lovely dog, he brings it in he even brings it to Silverstone, he's not supposed to. Hides it in the caravan or something.
I think you've alluded to it. I think that Lewis Hamilton says, doesn't he, on a regular basis, that he's nothing without his team. And I think that there's obviously an element of great people are generally humble, and you've obviously achieved remarkable things as a rally driver, and outside of the rally world, you've obviously got a fantastic family and a long marriage, and you've been very happy. And I think that the people who succeed in life are generally quite humble, and I think that people forget that there is a team behind them, and it's really nice to hear from your point of view that even back then the team was as important as it is today, for someone like Lewis Hamilton, who is changing the world really in many ways. And it's exactly what you did, I suppose, for the Mini in particular, when you won the 64 Monte Carlo with the Monte. Obviously the car wasn't, along with you and John Cooper and a few others, The Mini wasn't, the Mini was struggling as people just didn't get it. And when you and John then got your hands on it and did what you had achieved with it, and then obviously that then pushed the celebrities and everybody into them, it just changed it forever. It changed history. I wouldn't have known what the Mini was if you hadn't have won that rally, because my dad wouldn't have had one. As simple as that. So it's a really...
Well, that's a very, very intelligent thing you just said. Thank you. I've never thought of it like that. You're absolutely right. I'm not sure about all winning people being modest. You're very kind to say that. I mean, I'm watching Djokovic losing at the tennis. I don't see him smile much, but
no, yeah.
I quite like the Spanish guy from Mallorca. What do you call him?
Rafa Nadal.
He's more charismatic looking.
Yeah.
No, but you have a point. But tennis is very much you. It's not. It's obviously a team of training people, but it's not the size of your tennis racket or size of the ball.
Yeah, exactly. It's you. And I think that when you have individual sports, so golfers generally quite arrogant, quite not particularly, they're very childish in their responses to things. And tennis players are the same. John McEnroe is probably the most famous, isn't he? His rages in public, but that was because of frustration with himself, and actually he couldn't blame anybody else. Whereas someone, technically you could have said, well, I had an oil feed issue. It's your fault, Mr. Mechanic. But, that's, the responsibility of being a team player. And, what I just said a minute ago is, I feel that's a sort of...
Well, I don't know if you're married or not, Samuel.
I'm not,
maybe
no.
You've got a boyfriend for all I know. You're not a boyfriend, are you?
No, I've not got a boyfriend.
Have you got a girlfriend?
I've got a girlfriend, yeah. A very lovely one.
No, but marriage is very important. And look, I'm lucky. Listen, Jenny was advertising executive in London, and she's from Wales, and she's very, very good. And then my daughter became my first girl. She became a nurse, and when she was very small, she used to have a sweater on that said, "When I grow up, I want to be a nurse and see loads of willies."
Yeah.
And she probably did. She ended up in sexually transmitted diseases in St. Thomas's Hospital. She became a Nightingale nurse, actually. And she's coming for lunch here today.
Yeah.
And anyway, no, but and my life, and I'm very lucky. All my kids have got dramas, and they've got lovely grandchildren, and it is very important in life. And Jenny became High Sheriff, and then she became Lord Lieutenant, Vice Lord Lieutenant.
Wow.
So she used to look after the Queen and all when she came.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Jackie's shirt had his birthday last year. His 80th birthday, and he held it in the RAC Club.
Okay.
And he invited me, because he did the forward in my book. And there were 70 of us there. And do you know, at the RAC Club in London, do you know who he had there?
Go on.
Queen.
Wow.
Queen was there sitting on Jackie's shirt table.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
I was knocked out. Unfortunately, 7 people were presented to her, and I wasn't. I was sad about that. I mean, I would love to have been on the list, but I didn't meet. I met Princess Anne a few times in my life. Anyway, I have a great respect for some of the royal family.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think nobody. I don't care what anybody says. The Queen is a remarkable lady. She's what is she now? 94, 95. Works. Probably. Well, she less now, obviously, but from the age of whatever she became Queen, she's worked pretty much every day. Every day of her life.
Jackie's shirt spoke for 20 minutes in front of her, and she had another gin and Dubonnet, I think, and then your man that runs the RAC. RAC Club, and he got up and he spoke for 20 minutes. She must have been bored to tears.
Yeah, I
Don't
suppose.
quote me, for God's sake.
No, but like you say, she's probably used to switching off, isn't she? You know, it's her job, I guess, to, you know,
Yeah.
go and, you know,
No, but
represent.
I have a good respect for her.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, like you say, some rules, I think is the right way to put it, isn't it?
Well, I got my MBE thing, which I was terribly thrilled about, and I went to Windsor to get that, and Princess Anne, and we had such a laugh together. But that to me was, I was very flattered to get that. You know,
amazing.
You didn't ask me a question. I give you. I shouldn't have mentioned that. I should have waited.
That was one of the questions. But you know, I suppose, you know, the MBE is a really interesting, you know, it's a mark of respect, isn't it? I think, and I think, you know, it's a mark of appreciation for what you've done for the, you know, the motoring.
Well, it's more for charity, because
Okay.
I'm thinking with what do you call them, paraplegics, Soap Mandeville.
Okay.
I've been a patron there for years. Not that I've done a lot, but I have followed. I'm very interested in the Soap Mandeville thing because Gutmann. I knew his daughter, and that's why she invited me. But Gutmann, who was a East German Jew, came over here during the war, and all the soldiers were coming back, and they were in wheelchairs, and they were saying, "Well, just keep him alive till he dies." And he came, Stoke Mandeville, and he said, "Look, these guys can shoot bow and arrows and things from a wheelchair." And he started the Olympic sports. Gutmann.
Okay.
Of course, they were terrified of him because they thought he was Nazi German Jew. And something like that.
Yeah.
Don't start me on the war. I just tell you something. You're not going to ask me this question. It's got nothing to do. But let me just tell you what happened the last couple of days. A bomber in 1940, 1945. A squadron of bombers took off from near Cambridge, American super fortresses full of bombs and things, and they went over to bomb a German airport being built at Versailles in France. That was being set up to really take us out before the invasion of Germany. And one of them got into trouble with de-icing, and then the engine caught fire, and it crashed within 200 meters of where I'm sitting now.
Oh my God!
And it blew every window out in Beaconsfield. But the blast went over my very old house, which is 15th century, 16th century. And anyway, the daughter of they were all blown to pieces. And I know a man at Bitterness, who was a kid evacuated from London, lived lovely. He came up to see it, and there was just pieces of body everywhere. It was an awful mess. And anyway, the farmer didn't want to put a plaque up, so I said I'd put a plaque up on my property, and I've just put it up this week. And the television crew that were here on Tuesday, I told them this, and he said, "I've got a drone. Shall I take a shot of it?" So he put the drone up, and he took a shot of the sign. I put a beautiful sign up as a memorial at the end of my property. And he took a shot. I just sent it to America yesterday, and the daughter of the pilot is still alive, and they're absolutely thrilled. So they're going to come over when this bloody thing's over. And,
what? That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, that. Remarkable.
I remember the bloody war quite well. I mean, although Belfast only had 3 raids, we had more tons dropped per capita than any other city in the UK because they were after the shipyards. They kept missing them.
Yeah. Well, like I say, you know, we're
sorry,
not at all.
Of it, but you have.
I think for me, it's really interesting. It's interesting to, you know, to get your views on things, because I think that, you know, it's not, you know, you're not just a Monte winner, you know, that, you know, that's it, you know, and that's where I think that, you know, a lot of press in the past and so on and so forth, it's always based around certain things, isn't it? You know, and the highlights of your life and all the rest of it. But actually, it's quite interesting to know these things. As you well know, I have an ex-girlfriend who lives literally around, probably within 2 miles where you live, and so I know the area where you are very, very well. And my family are all based in the Cotswolds, so I know the area very, very well. And for me, being in South Yorkshire now,
where are you at the moment?
So South Yorkshire, so just outside Barnsley. So I'm in a little tiny hamlet in the middle of nowhere, basically. So I'm at home.
Oh, that's nice.
And
the definition of a Yorkshireman.
Yeah, go on.
Similar to a Scotsman, but with the generous streak removed.
If I start telling that
what's
joke,
that, Jack? What's that jumper you've got on, Jack? What's it say?
Jack Wills.
Should I realise what that is?
It's just a country make, just a countryside clothing make. So they make hoodies and jogging bottoms and stuff like that. So yeah, nothing too exciting.
But you're living with a girl.
Yeah, I live with Danielle, her name is. So yeah, we've been together.
What nationality? Sorry? What nationality?
English. Yeah, she's a Yorkshire lady. So yeah, I'd say, long story short, but anyway, I moved up here with an ex-girlfriend. That didn't work out. And I'd started my company, the chocolate wholesale business and things. So I ended up staying, and then I met her a while ago, and everything's fantastic. So, it's I'm a very lucky man, similar to you. I'm a lucky chap, and hopefully I will have all
what's your main business?
So chocolate wholesale is my main company. So I explained to you obviously before.
Oh, so yes, of course. Sorry, I'm putting it all together now.
So yes,
you buy from Cadbury's the Easter eggs.
That's it. Yeah, all that type of stuff, and then sell it to Tesco's and Poundland and B&M and all people like that. So as we
you're
spoke,
a sales rep like me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, we had this. Yeah, 100%. That's how I live my life, and then I've got a chain of milkshake and frozen yogurt shops as well, which that's effectively just to hopefully that the wholesale business isn't going to be forever. So I have to.
Well, you said you got warehouses, but that's a nightmare. Forklift trucks and employing people.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm very lucky, Paddy. I have one forklift driver now, and that's it. And I do it. I have an accounts firm that are external who do all my accounts for me, and then I do everything else basically. So I'm really efficient. When I very first started the company 5 years ago, I did everything. I used to get up at 3 a.m., go to the warehouse, unload the deliveries and load the deliveries for the customers, and then I'd go and do all the meetings with the customers about ordering and so on and so forth. And then I'd go home and do the accounts at night, and I did that 7 days a week for 3.5 years. And then I thought, do you know what? Actually, I think I might take a bit of time, and so I employed an accountancy firm, and now I have a little bit more time to myself.
Well, yes, I'm sorry, I had forgotten that. I do apologise with my brains, No, but I've done so many bloody interviews in the last couple of weeks and what have you. I got modelled. No, I was very interested in that, and I'd love you to meet Patrick. My son, he's 49, but we're selling. We're reps. I used to have a factory and made stuff, petrol cans and roof racks and things.
Yeah.
Up in Leighton Buzzard, and then I sold all that badly. I can't make money. I was more interested in the workers. What's the name of their dog?
Yeah.
But I did Kaizen. Have you ever heard of Kaizen?
No. Nope.
Kaizen is a Japanese. It's common sense, but the Japanese call it Kaizen, and it means improvement. But there was a company that went round and taught it, and they came to my factory, and he said, he was from ex-GKN, this guy, and he said, your factory's in such a mess. He said, would you mind if we got the Kaizen team to come in and we'll improve it? And he said, we'll make a video of it, but we're going to say what a mess it was before and how we improved it. So it won't reflect well on you. And I said, oh, shit, because they were giving me about 200 grand worth of consultancy.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And we did that. And the Kaizen is improvement. You take movement. If you watch a girl on a machine and she's stretching over to pick a piece up and take it there, you bring the machine, the table closer. And I went and did it in other factories. I went to Rolls Royce and I worked with teams of improving, and it's all common sense, but it's applying it.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. And I should apply it at home, and I don't. My room, lucky you can't see. My room's in a bit of a mess. Anyway, sorry, but the selling game is, and PR, you know, you're a good PR man. I can see that. And PR, sometimes people with these PR company, and they haven't got a fucking clue.
Yeah.
PR is about trust and relationships and getting the editors of magazines to meet the boss and have a drink with them.
Yeah. I think, well, ultimately, I've always been, I'm sure you would have experienced it in your life, that I am very much a people's person. And, you know, I literally, Paddy, I have no skills whatsoever. I'm dyslexic, the same as you. You know, I don't know to what level, but my reading and writing is horrific. I have to triple check everything that I write. My language, my spoken language is very good, but reading and writing, absolutely no good. But my talent is people. I'm really good with people, and I just find myself being able to, with my company, the reason that it's been so successful is it's all done on integrity. So if Tesco say to me, you know, you cannot put those Easter eggs in Sainsbury's as an example, I will not do that. I will, I say to them, okay, fine, I'll break it down. And yes, although I could have made more money putting them somewhere where they've told me not to, it makes no sense to me to undermine that relationship. And I think if you say you're going to do something, you should do it. And
in the long term, you're right. I feel you're right.
and I just think that that is, and I enjoy listening to people, and I enjoy talking, I enjoy chatting to people, and I could literally, you could put me in a room with anyone and I'd chew their ear off because I just enjoy talking. And I think that most people enjoy talking unless they've got things going on in their lives that are more consuming than that conversation. But I think generally, I very much, PR is people, isn't it? I think that a lot of you and me we spoke about this before. A lot of my followers won't know this, but I started it on the very first in 2000. I started at BMW Cowley. I was in the first intake of apprentices there, and I did my apprenticeship on the new Mini, on the BMW Mini. And at the time, Mini, in my opinion, got it completely wrong. They were very much, the old Mini was rubbish. The new Mini's fantastic, and they got the marketing wrong. And as you've just explained at the beginning, that now they're very accepting of the history of the Mini, which is what they should have gone with from day one. But obviously, that leads us really nicely into obviously the latest BMW Mini, Paddy Hopkirk edition, that's obviously coming soon as well, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, before the end of the call. But it's BMW have been accepting enough to accept that they got it wrong in the beginning, and now they're embracing the history of the Mini because that's what it should be. And so I think that sometimes PR.
No, Samuel, you've got it absolutely one. Is exactly what I would say to people. And the man, I don't know if you remember Herbert Deese, who was head of it, and I'm still a friend with him. And I went to Wolfsburg recently, and he gave me dinner. I think I maybe told you that before.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
He gave me dinner because I'm trying to get their Lockheed wheel nut business. But Deese been to buy a house here with his kids, his wife Irene. Irene's still living in Munich. He's got a big job now, but he's doing a PR job with Angela Merkel. he gets on like a house on fire with her, you know. And he's a lovely guy. And he, and maybe told you this, but he threw a party in Oxford in the, what do you call the hotel there?
The Randolph. Yeah.
And he has invited about 100 Mini enthusiasts, anoraks, all with stickers on the back of their Minis saying 100% free at BMW parks and all that.
Yeah.
And he gave them a lot of drink, and he had the new Mini there. And one of the first ones, and he had it covered up, and he got up and he said, "I'm German and I apologize about the war."
Yeah.
And all that, and he was terrific. And they said, "We're building a new car, but we are building it here, and it's not going to leak water or it's not going to smell of petrol. But the old car has got the tradition and Paddy's hair and rhubarb. And then he pulled the cover off it. He was fucking German. And then you could see that another drink. And then one of the wives said, "Let's go and have a look at it." And God, at 12 o'clock at night, you couldn't get them out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
He was the best PR guy that Mini ever. And of course, he went on then to, so he was great with the unions, and he went to Berlin to sort the motorcycle factory up because they had a lot of labor problems in Berlin. And then he went to Munich because he's ex-Bosch. He was originally with Bosch. And then he became purchasing director and then became engineering director. But he said, "I want the top job." And they said, "No, you're not going to get it. You're too old." So he did a runner to Volkswagen. And the week before the shit hit the fan on the pollution thing. You know, he didn't know that. And he actually went to Volkswagen. But,
amazing. But you are right. You know, he was brilliant. I was lucky enough to meet him a couple of times during my apprentice scheme, and you know, just a very.
And he brought the Shakespeare plays in there.
He did, yeah. Fantastic. And you know, like I say, I think that you know now Mini have embraced the classic Mini, haven't they? And you know, we've had conversations about it, you know, off camera and all the rest of it. And I think that you know they're doing the right thing now. And I think I said to you last time we spoke that actually, you know, the new Mini's 20 years old now. You know, it's going to be a classic very, very soon. And the quality, I think the thing to touch on the new Mini is that they wanted it to be so good. So the early ones are absolutely spectacular. They're built to within an inch of their life. You know, when I was at the factory doing my apprenticeship, you would not believe the attention to detail on building these cars. I know they're not as you know, the attention isn't so good now, but the early Minis, the early new BMW Minis are absolutely brilliant. And you know, I'm a Mini owner. I've got a John Cooper Works Mini now, you know, a 19 reg one, and they are just fantastic cars. And I think that the Mini community is a lot more accepting of them now. You know, every show that I go to, I think I said to you last time, London to Brighton, you know, Silverstone, Mini in the Park gets probably more new Minis than it does classic Minis now. So
you go to Bewley.
Go to Bewley. Yeah.
Oh, I'm there every year on the Mini. Have you spoken to Mini Sport? Have you spoken to Chris Harper?
I spoke to Cara and Chris, obviously, initially when I spoke about you, and I'm going after COVID. I'm going up there for the day, and we're going to do
well, Chris Harper, I would lie down and die for him. I mean, I find him a wonderful managing director. He makes decisions, fair ones. And I mean, he looks after my cars. And his guy came down on Tuesday with my classic replica in the van and looked after it. Because I wouldn't let the people from the television drive it, you know. No, that's good. Well, please, Chris Harper, you can trust with your life.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to going up there and doing. We're going to do like a day in the life of Mini Sport and follow a package from order all the way to delivery and do some fun things with them. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
But you see, Germany, Munich, we're getting in touch with them for the cars and everything to go make this commercial. I mean, not the one this week, a couple of years ago. And I told them, you're mad, they don't know and they don't ask.
Yeah.
Amazing how people in big companies don't ask. They're scared they'll lose face if they ask a question for help.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think, well, you're dead right, aren't you? And when you're your own boss, and you'll know this as well, that you just make a decision and you stand by it. Simple as that. And if you don't know,
even
you
if
have
it's
to.
the wrong one.
Yeah, even if it's the wrong one. Yeah, I've made loads of decisions that are that are wrong, but you learn by them and you make sure you don't do them again. And
yeah, that's a great story of yours. A helicopter guy coming down the steep top to see
yeah.
you.
That's absolutely unbelievable. Probably could have been the worst conversation I ever had in my life. Turned out to probably be the best one. Yeah, and that was, unbelievable. And what a man. And
and a chance of a job.
Yeah, so I've got a nice collection. A really nice collection. I've been collecting since I was well, I wouldn't say collecting since I was 16, but I've got cars that I had when I was 16. So I've got an old pickup that I brought, an early pickup that I've had since then. I brought a really nice 64 Coupe S off of a friend when I was 21. He was going traveling, and he needed some money to go traveling with, so I got an absolute bargain. I paid about $4.5 grand for it, and that was in, what would that have been, 2006. That's worth.
I've got 6 CMO, which is the car that Alec Bull and I won the Pirelli Marathon with in 1991. And we beat Sterling Moss and Ron Gammons. We beat 2 MGs.
Amazing.
Very pleased with about that win. And then I've got the replica, and the replica
EJB.
is beautifully built by the Cox and the Lifeboat in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
I was brought up on lifeboats and the sea in Portrush. I was evacuated to Portrush during the war.
Yeah.
So I grew up on the sea. I'm a sailor. I can't swim.
Yeah. That's
I'm
amazing.
looking at you. I'm looking at you like you can see me. It's awful. My screen's blank and I can see you perfectly.
Don't worry. It doesn't matter.
It's helping the conversation a lot, even though it's one way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Obviously, your cars, your cars are something that I would love to come and get my hands on, and maybe do a video on, whether that's with you or with Mini Sport or something.
Chris is wonderful.
Yeah, so that'll be.
We sent the replica to Wales the other day, North Wales, and Frankie, the racing driver, drove it.
Yeah.
But I said I wanted Chris's man there. Michael is lovely. Said, I don't want that guy breaking the car up. And he said he drove it well on the track, but he couldn't drive it on the loose.
Yeah.
Racing drivers don't know how to drive.
No, it's a very different thing, isn't it? Like they say that the best drivers in the world are rally drivers, don't they? Because it's.
Well, they are. It's like powder skiing.
It is. Yeah.
It's balance. It's all about balance.
Yeah, and obviously the Mini.
Also, you're driving against the clock. You don't have to have bad manners and push the guy out and say, I'm going to go to that corner before you. It's after you.
Do you mind
you haven't started to close your eyes and go to sleep?
Not at all. No, not at all. Paddy, literally, I know you said you've got lunch. I could keep you all day. Do you mind if we just do a couple of my followers' questions?
Yeah, of course.
Bear me 2 seconds. You can see my screen, can't you? So this is. I'll show you my Instagram. So this is Instagram. It'll read. So that's the number of followers, and then effectively, so you'll see. This is a picture that one of my followers took of your actual car in Gaydon. So
they've just done a bit of work on the car in Gaydon. It looks better, but some people didn't nick the steering wheel off it.
It's unbelievable.
Somebody went to the museum and took, when the lights went out for 2 minutes, took the bloody steering wheel off. Anyway,
it's unbelievable, isn't it? People are remarkable. I'll show you this picture that I posted with you. Can you see that? All right.
Oh yeah. Well, that picture was taken by that magazine.
Is it Auto Express?
no. What do you call it? Oh God. I can tell you the editor. He's from North. He was at university with my youngest son in Manchester. It's owned by a German company, Bauer Press. Bauer. It's there in Peterborough. Car. Brain gone. Come on.
It'll come to you.
Pardon?
It'll come to you. It'll come to you in a minute, no doubt.
No, but they're staying in. They're German company, and he's the editor, and he sent me to a hangar over near Cambridge to do that shot. It took all day.
Yeah.
And, that's in an old hangar at some airfield over there.
Yeah.
A long time that's the replica.
Yeah, that's yours, isn't it? That's your car.
Yeah.
Which is better than the original. Let's be fair. The original is a used rally car, isn't it? And it's kept in the used rally car condition. It probably needs, I guess that Gaydon have got their, they need to get their head around it. But do they restore it and make it perfect?
Gaydon have got a new managing director.
Yeah.
New guy is very good. No, Gaydon will become a good place, I think.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, exciting. So I've got, so that picture, just so you're aware, it got 4,647 likes and 150 comments, which are questions effectively. So all I'll do, if it's okay with you, is I'll just go down and I'll pick a few out and I will say their names. It won't mean anything to you, but it will mean something to them, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I'm just letting my dog in.
That's all right. Oh, I wish I could see it. I love dogs. I wish I could see him, but your camera's not working.
I've got a wonderful picture, which I can send you, which the team took this week when they were making the movie here. And they took a shot of me with my dog, Bertie. Hello, Bertie. Look at that funny man there. He's a Yorkshire.
Hi, Bertie. I know I can't see you, but you can see me. I love dogs. Right. I've got Molly, and she's a beagle, but she's upstairs because she's a bit noisy. And then I lost, unfortunately. A bit of a sad story, but I had a cane corso called Arthur. I'll show you him actually. All very boring, but let me 2 seconds. I'll show you. No, I won't. I won't show you, buddy, because I can't. Because 2 seconds.
You're gone. You're frozen.
What about now? Is that better?
No, I can see your body.
Okay, right. Here we go. I'll show you. I will show you Arthur. Bear with me 2 seconds. And unfortunately, he was only 18 months old, and he was suffering really badly with epilepsy. So we just had to have him. I had him put down in. Well, it's nearly a year ago, actually, believe it or not.
Oh, geez, I've had dogs, I've got a guard. My graveyard here is about 10 stones.
Yeah.
I've had plaques put up where we buried them all. Oh,
it's horrific, but there we go. You see him.
Oh, yes, lovely.
He was 100 kilos, so he was a big dog. But yeah, anyway. So questions, back to questions. Otherwise, you'll have me crying on the internet to you. Right. So I'll just pick a couple at random if that's okay. So Sam Bushwell asks, what style Mini do you prefer? Saloon, clubman, pickup, estate, or a van? This is a really interesting question for me actually, because I don't even know if you like Minis.
Well, from a granddad's point of view, the Countryman four-wheel drive is very, and I've got a hybrid. I'm very fond of that, but my new Mini is quite sexy. I mean, it's the one I'm getting next week, my new Paddy Hopkirk car. The one they had it here, they had another one here for the filming. This weekend was the first time I sat in it, but it's like a racing car inside. It's beautiful seats, so come around you. And, it's very nice. I don't know how good it'll be as a family car, but nobody needs a family car anymore. Anyway, really, and my wife's got a Countryman.
Just out of interest, Paddy, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how much input have you had in that car? Do you have any input with Mini, or is it do they just come along and say, Paddy, that we're building this, car for you, or do you get to have a say in anything at all in it?
Well, a little bit. I've used my logo, my rally plate with 37. That's my registered trademark.
Yeah.
And that's worth over two, I think. And they've used that, and I've given permission to use it, and they use my signature. And they decided to put one stripe on it, which looks good actually.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, the photos that you sent me, it looks absolutely fantastic. I actually think I might try and buy one myself, to be honest, because I think.
Well, I would. I bought one. I mean, I don't know what will happen to the one they're lending me as my car. I mean, I hope they would sell that to me at the end. They normally don't. I normally give the cars back. I've ordered one from London. Less a discount, not a big discount even, but I think, and I'm not going to use it. I think I'll throw a rag over it like you.
Yeah.
And I think it could become valuable. But then, if electric cars, or if there's no more engines in cars in 10 years' time.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
The classics up more with it.
Yeah, well, interestingly, so there's a company. I'm just gonna change it the thing slightly, but on the electric front, there's a company in Swindon that are called, I can't remember their name, but anyway, there's a company in Swindon that are now building electric motors for classic minis. So that's quite interesting. So I'm going to, in January, COVID allowing, I'm going there to drive one. So potentially I will have one of my classics converted to an electric at some point, but we'll see. So it'll be interesting. What's your thoughts on electric vehicles?
Well, if you come to a flood, it's interesting. I was asking the techie who came on Tuesday, what voltage? The voltage is 500.
Yeah.
Volts. I don't know about the classic Mini, but the Mini, the battery is 500 volts.
Yeah.
So you don't want to touch it.
No. If
you go through a deep water, there's no exhaust pipe or there's no intake. So technically, the water will come into the car before the
engine
stops.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it?
Very
have you driven the BMW Mini electric?
No, I'm waiting for one. They're lending me one next week. I haven't driven it. No.
Well, I have. I've had a go in one, and it's impressive. It's a very unnerving. Driving an electric car is very unnerving because there's no noise. It's and there's obviously no gear change. It's really, it's a sort of.
Well, I've driven a Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla.
Yeah. So you've had the experience. Do you?
Let me send this guy a text to say I'll call you back.
Yep.
No, I didn't. Hello, sure. Sorry, I'm on a Zoom call. Can you call me in an hour? Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Bye. The insurance company.
Okay, right. So we'll go down. This is an interesting one. So this is from someone called Slipstar. So I don't know what his real name is, but that's his handle. If you didn't have a career, if you didn't have the career you had, what else would you have done? So if you hadn't been a rally driver.
A priest.
A priest.
No. Having been educated by the Jesuits, definitely not. No. I'm spending my life getting my own back on them. What would have been? A sales rep?
Yeah. which is
That's what
yeah,
I am.
you are a sales rep. Yeah. So I would say actually.
So are you.
Sorry.
So are you.
I am, and I'm proud.
I'm proud of it too, because I get fed up seeing the top people in companies who couldn't sell anything, and I think you've got to sell your company and yourself, and I think, and you've got to be nice to people that are rude to you, and sum them up. I think it's a very, my son Patrick, who was a teacher, and did geography at Trinity Dublin. He went to South America, became a teacher in a Porsche school there, and he's now runs the business really, and he's a sales rep, but he's terrific. He's terrific. And he's a tennis player too.
Oh wow, interesting.
Sport. I play tennis every Sunday still.
Do you? Wow. That explains why you're in such good health and shape, Paddy, because you keep on your toes.
Brain's gone.
Don't believe that. Yeah. Okay, right. Other than this is Team Billy Louth. So Billy Louth Classics, this guy's called. So other than the 1964 Monte win, which was your favourite rally to compete in? As a fellow Northern Irishman, being very biased, but what would the Circuit of Ireland be? Would the Circuit of Ireland be near the top of your list?
Very much so. Circuit of Ireland was a wonderful event because not only was it interesting, various type of driving hill times and driving tests, but the camaraderie in Killarney, social side was great.
Yeah.
And come on, life's a lot of life is about social side.
Certainly.
I mean, I would hate to have to train like a tennis player or something.
Yeah.
You can't enjoy yourself, I don't think.
Yeah.
You've got to have a bit of time off. And sorry, the other thing he asked about, the most difficult rally, I think the Acropolis.
The Acropolis. And you won that twice.
Well, I won it and then was penalised because of a
Mr. Ford
protest by Ford, and then went back and won it again. Officially, I won it. I mean, I got the cup from the King, and the next day he did a runner to England. Remember that, when the King of Greece?
Yeah.
Did a runner. He came out of Greece and came and lives in Wimbledon now, I think.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Thank you. That's good. So, well, he's a fellow Northern Irishman, so that was a good question. We've got.
People used to say to me, sorry to interrupt you. People used to say to me, where are you from, Belfast? What was your job there? I used to say I was a rear gunner on a milk float.
Brilliant. I like that. Okay, Little Miss Cooper. Little Miss Cooper asks, if you go. Oh, wait a minute. This is a funny question. Let me just ask it. Little Miss Cooper, if you go relive, I think she means if you could relive a memorable race, which would it be and why? So, of all of your races in your life, if you could relive one, what would what's your favourite?
Alpine Rally, I think.
Well, to win the Alpine Rally in a Mini is just
was very hard work because it's a dash out road, so it's all to do with horsepower.
Yeah, and you did it in the little Mini.
Yeah.
Rust Bucket 59 asks, "What is your opinion on the modern Mini?" That's an interesting question.
Well, I think it's wonderful. I think it's BMW saved it. Look at that. Another car that I loved, and all my kids learned to drive on the Deux-Chevaux Citroen. I love the Citroen because, a Citroen, a Deux-Chevaux driven well downhill was as quick as a Porsche, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was the epitome of the farmer who drove across a plowed field in France with the egg without breaking them.
Yeah.
And I loved Citroens. And then I think I had 7 of them. In fact, I buried one in the garden that was rusting. I had a hole and the digger was here, and somebody will find it with a metal detector 110. I wonder what it is. But it's a very interesting car. Just a second, sorry. No, it's a very interesting car. And I remember I came home one day with my son William, and I saw him, and the back was open and all that. And he was off to a party, and he found you can get a double bed mattress if you took the rear seat out, and opened the boot. You could get a double mattress in the back.
That's amazing.
To a party. And I wonder what was in his bag.
Sensible young lad. That's what it is. Right. There's always a silly question, so I'm not going to ask the silly ones. What other ones have we got? My doorstep photography asked, what advice would he tell today's generation of rally racers, or in fact drivers, mini drivers in general? She's asking 2 questions, so we'll ask that one, and then like most classics, they occasionally encounter problems. What was the most memorable problem he encountered with his minis? So I suppose the first part of that, Paddy, is what advice would you give to today's generation of rally drivers?
Not to bother.
Yeah, well,
you make a lot of money, but it's very dangerous. I mean, the speeds are very high, speeds are very high, and but the cars, I suppose, are safe. But it's wonderful, but nobody follows it. You know, nobody. Yeah. You win the RAC rally now in 5 years, nobody knows about it.
No,
Volkswagen, when I spoke to Dees, he was costing him 60 million a year, and he said he raised quite it. You know,
colossal, isn't it?
All this money winning rallies around Europe, nobody reads about it.
Even
on the back page.
Yeah.
No, I think the worst thing in the Mini was the demisting. It never bloody worked. The heater and the demister is dreadful. and the new Mini is very. I mean, all the new cars are very good, but I think quality of builds. Germans are very dedicated to getting things right.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think the attention to detail in the new car is very nice, very comfortable. But I mean, all cars are good, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. I would second that. The demister, especially in a rally car, even with the heated front screen, no good to anybody, I imagine. I've got a replica that's got I've sent you some photos of it. That's got the. Did
you show me the pictures?
Yeah, I sent you some on WhatsApp. Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen them or not. But yeah, and they were rubbish. They're rubbish. But the new Mini, like I say, the build quality is fantastic.
No, well, the heated screens is interesting because I remember the problem. I knew the head of Triplex quite well at the motor show in London. I remember saying to him, he said, how's the dial? I said, can you get me a heated screen? Because it used to have wires down it. And the trouble was when you got into fog, it was like being in prison.
Yeah.
Your focal length shortened, and all you could see was the bloody bars.
Yeah.
It was like looking at a cell, you know. And then they changed it, and they changed to gold, and you remember that from your days. It probably maybe they weren't. The golden sort of film on the screen and not heated.
Yeah,
that was quite good. But I remember I took my screen out on the Monte because we had the heated screens, but I got fed up with the visibility. So I actually changed the screens and unheated. And
Oh, wow.
we ran out of Mont Ventoux climb. It was really cold, and we'd run out of windscreen washer fluid, and I had a bottle of gin in the back of the car.
Yeah.
I bought them at duty free, so I put a bottle of Gordon's gin in the dish in the washer, and every time my co-driver squirted it, it practically got high. But it worked well. It worked well as a good antifreeze.
That's amazing. Was that is that in the 64 Monty, or is that just generally in another one?
I think it was on the 64.
That's unbelievable. Fantastic. This is quite a good question. We've already touched on this, but I'll just ask it again. Do you still talk to any of your old team members? So we know that you speak to Bill Price.
Excuse me, just 1 second. I'm looking at the window. My dog's barking, and my daughter Katie has just driven up in her Clubman.
Ah, there we go.
She's good dog, she's ordered one of mine as well.
Fantastic.
It's interesting what's happening at the moment. I mean, what do you think classics will go up even further?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think because it's just inevitable. I think the classic minis now, in particular. I know I do have non-classics as non-minis as well, but I think the classic minis in particular are. The prices, I don't know how au fait you'd be with them, but they are getting ridiculous now. For a 64 Cooper, as an example, you may or may not know, but they did the 970 Cooper, the 1071 Cooper, and then the 1275 Cooper. The 970s are the ultra rare ones. They're about 60 grand now, which is just mind-boggling for a classic mini. The 1071s, again, super rare, anywhere between 40 and 50 grand. And the 1275 Coopers, probably anywhere between 30 and 50, depending on how nice, or if it's got any nice provenance with it. And the historic rally stuff, so the stuff that's done the Montes and all the rest of it, is 150 plus. For an old classic mini, and who knows what your car, the Monte Carlo rally winners would be worth, if they ever came onto the open market. I know that won't happen, but it could be as much as £1 million. You never know.
Well, I don't know either. I mean, Haggerty insure them for me, and Haggerty has just lost its two chief executives over here.
Yeah.
And McKeel Haggerty from America has come back in to take over. He's actually sent a bloke over, and he called me the other day because at about 5 years ago at Silverstone, I sat beside the sister Haggerty, and we both got terribly pissed on white wine, and we got on like a listen bar.
Yeah.
And they've insured the cars from me.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're well insured, and I don't even know what they're valued at.
Yeah. Well, yours, your replica must be. It's certainly 100 grand plus. It's got to be.
Yeah, well, I would have thought so. Yeah.
So and I think the fact that you own it now and have driven it and so on and so forth adds a premium to that. But and your other one, 6 EMO is yeah, that's a real valuable car. That's got to be. Well, I got offered one not very long ago via Andy Ace Harrison at Ace Speed, and the guy wanted 120 grand for it, and that was I think it was a 74. Did something in the Monte Carlo rallies in 74, and that was 150 grand. So it's just they are, and that hadn't won anything. So. Gives you an idea.
Well, Chris looks after it so well. It's very good. Nick, a guy who drove it, who works with BMW dealer in Yorkshire or Lancashire somewhere. He's a very nice guy. I can't remember his name. He's wonderful. He drives it beautifully and looks after it. And Chris looks after my cars beautifully. He really does.
Yeah. Couldn't ask for more. Fantastic. Well, I'll just do 2 more questions if that's all right, Paddy, and then I'll let you go for lunch because I know that your daughter's there.
Yeah,
and
my daughter's just survived. Okay.
I do not want to encroach on that time. So.
I do remember enjoying talking to you before and telling you about Chris Harper and all that.
Yeah.
But you must meet Chris Harper. You'll get on like a house and fire, and he's a trustworthy man. Family are very lovely.
Fantastic.
Carry on. You will ask me more questions.
Of course, I will do that. Ed Simmons Racing asks, what was so special about driving a Mini at the Monte Carlo rally? So I think he means, why did it win? Why was it so much quicker than everybody else?
Well, there was a handicap system, and because it was a small engine car, I mean, the Fords went quicker. Bussy Youngfeld in the Ford. I mean, Ford spent a fortune trying to win the rally.
Yeah.
And they went faster, but there was a handicap system. And because we were a small engine car, we didn't have to go quite so fast.
Yeah.
But we went fast enough to beat the system, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And like you say, I suppose all the spotters that went out, so on your notes you had where the ice was, you didn't crash. So, that's
we didn't make any mistakes.
Yeah. So that's, you and Henry, were key to that as well, I guess. So, I know.
We've done a lot of practicing. We were well prepared. The managers, the team, the mechanics were in the right place. We had the right tires. We knew the road with the right notes. Everything was just came together.
Fantastic.
And we were lucky.
Yeah, I think, like you say, but I you're being modest as well. It takes, it takes a lot. So, and then, I guess let's just find one more. I'm not going to ask that because that's a bit long and boring. This is an interesting one. I don't know how much you know about it. So, what is your opinion on non-standard Mini engine conversions? So, in the classic Mini world now, there's quite a trend to go non-A series. So, I actually have one being built at the moment, which is having a Honda Civic engine put in it. Do you is it something you're aware of? And what would your thoughts be on driving a Mini with a Honda Civic engine in it?
Well, I think it's wonderful. Because the BMC engine, the tractor engine, really, it was very limited. The A-type engine, you can only do so much with it, and the Weber carburetors on the back of it. But cross-flow heads and things, and superchargers. No, it's very exciting. I think the main handicap of the Mini and why it started to fall over and not win rallies after 1968 was wheel size.
Yeah.
The Ford Escorts had much bigger ground clearance. I mean, the Mini was sump guard on and rough roads. It was hard work, and you couldn't get the power through to the wheels. That was the problem.
Yeah.
So the Ford Escorts were able to blow us away.
Interesting. Fantastic. Well, I'll let you go and enjoy your lunch, Paddy, and thank you.
Okay, but do send me an email, will you please? And so I get it in my head. I'm dying for you to talk to Chris Harper because I'm sure he'll give you the thumbs up. And I'm really sorry this fucking Zoom didn't work. It's you're very clear. And I've enjoyed looking at you and talking to you. and wish and I'll send you a picture. I'll send you the dog.
Yeah, fantastic, brilliant, wonderful. Well, enjoy your lunch, and thank you very much for your time. And
I won't be eating much lunch, but anyway, see my lovely dog.
Yeah, and
she died. She breast cancer 2 years ago. On chemo for 9 months. Lost all her hair and everything. She's all okay now, though, thank God. So I nearly lost it.
God, horrendous.
My granddaughter is 19. She's got a Mini.
Yeah.
or 7-year-old one.
Yeah.
Plenty of minis around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paddy. Enjoy your lunch, and thank you again for all your time, and we'll speak again soon.
Lovely. Thank you.
Cheers, Paddy. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.